So before we get started, we have to address the fact that we had a competition going
on TikTok. Did. So I don't think we talked about it on the last podcast, 'cause I don't think we decided then. But as many of you guys know, we're in quarantine because it's coronavirus time, and we're in Massachusetts, so we're stuck here until May 4th currently. So that's great. A whole nother month.
Star Wars Day, but that's decidedly optimistic. It's not going to be May 4th.
Right. So with that, we figured why not do something fun and get us out of just the boring routine. And we decided, since last week's movie was The Hustler, we were going to have a pool competition. And as we told you on the last podcast, we do not have a pool table, so we did it on Nintendo Switch.
Yep, we did.
We did. So I've already released a promo video for it on TikTok. If you guys haven't seen it, it was cute, you know.
We did our best.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was a TikTok. So I will probably be posting that on Twitter later tonight. But then we also had our competition. So how do you think it went?
So I got crushed.
What are you what?
Which I still don't understand how it happened, other than, of course it did, because that's my life.
But I mean, how did you do in the practice round?
So I was undefeated in the practice. Yep. I went 3-0.
And then I went 3-0
to the point where you didn't want to actually do the competition anymore.
Yeah, it was feeling like
I had to drag you kicking and screaming.
Yeah, it felt like it was weighted in the wrong direction. But anyways, before we did the competition, we asked you guys what you wanted for a punishment. We gave you 3 choices. I really thought you were going to pick pickle chips, and I feel like you're having mercy on Tyler or something for not doing that.
It's not mercy at all.
Yes, but what you picked was a TikTok dance challenge. So now that Tyler lost,
for anyone.
Now that Tyler lost, he will be doing that. I'm gonna let him choose what dance challenge he feels he can handle. I don't know when it's gonna come out because he's probably gonna need a lot of practice, but it will come out and you guys will see that. So I will let you know. But yeah, so excited to see Tyler's TikTok dance. Woo!
No one's excited for that ever under any circumstances.
It's gonna be a great time. So anyways, thank you guys for voting for that and just participating in our little trying to get out of the monotony type fun. So yeah, but this week you picked a movie.
I did pick a movie.
What'd
you
pick?
Glory Road, which you, for the life of you, can't get the name right.
Okay, well, I'm Shay.
I'm Tyler.
And it's cinematically correct. And in fairness, it's hard to say. It
Glory
rhymes,
Road?
It rhymes with an Urban Dictionary term that, the child in me just can't stop saying over and over again.
Yeah, even when you're not meaning to. You say, glory hole.
Thank you for putting that on the podcast for everyone to
You're
listen
welcome.
to for posterity.
That's my payback for losing at pool.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. So, yes, I did that. But maybe before we get into the actual movie, you should try your beer. That thankfully, we still have beers because we can't leave the house. So this is miraculous, actually.
So this is KBS
Flavored Stout. So how does it relate to the movie? Tell us.
Well, KBS stands for Kentucky Barrel Stout. And they played Kentucky in the final.
Kentucky Wildcats?
Yes. I believe so.
I believe so.
I don't follow college basketball at all. So, maybe.
You could have, actually paid attention to the movie that you chose. But, I get roasted for not paying attention to a movie. But you get let off. So, that's fine.
So, yeah. This is going to be awful. It's going to get a 2. That's being charitable because it's a stout.
And in fairness, as you guys know, again, we're in quarantine, so I did not go to the store and pick this out. How did you actually get this beer?
So this was birthday Christmas present beer.
Is that from the Advent calendar?
It's from the Advent calendar.
Okay, so neither one of us picked it. So if it is horrible, it's not torture from either of us. It's a mystery box torture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually your gift to me, so it's your fault.
Rude.
Oh, it's going to be bad. Oh, that's really not pleasant.
No, not good.
It's almost like a coffee port wine style beer.
Are you gonna make it through the whole thing?
I don't know. I'll try, but that's gonna be tough sledding.
So what is it? How many out of stars?
2 was high, so like 1.5.
All right. Well, hopefully, when we're finally able to shop again, we can start getting you some beers you're going to like.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to give everybody a brief synopsis? Because the internet has not seen this movie, so you're really informing them.
It came out 15 years ago, people.
It came out in 2006, right? When
Yeah.
you graduated from high school?
2005 is when I graduated.
Well, when I graduated.
Yes, you're younger than I am.
I forgot that you're old.
So, brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
It follows a basketball coach for
Don Haskins.
Texas Western University.
The Miners.
Go Miners. And he leads the team to the NCAA championship, and he has to deal with racism along the way because he has to field a team of players that no one wants and they overlook because of their skin color, which is both poor planning and stupid on their part because they then win everything.
Right. So we'll get into like what's true, what's not true, all of that, but we should go through at least the characters.
Yes.
Okay. So the first, obviously, would be Josh Lucas, who plays Don Haskins.
Yes.
This is our second Josh Lucas movie, I believe.
I believe so.
We did Sweet Home Alabama.
We did?
Which, one of my all-time faves. He's in other things, though, yeah?
I believe so. I haven't looked at his IMDb recently, but he's in quite a few things.
Yeah, so he's in, Ford versus Ferrari, which I want to see.
Yes.
He's
Beautiful
in
Minds.
Beautiful Mind, Yellowstone I've never heard of, Breakthrough, All Square, Mark Felt. Okay, so not a lot of things I've heard of, but I still love him. He's adorable, and I just love him. It was actually supposed to be Ben Affleck, which is funny because there's a new movie coming out. I don't know if it's come out yet because of the whole Corona thing, but a basketball movie.
Ben Affleck, basketball coach, kind of the chance at this movie that he'd never got.
That's what I feel
time.
like. Now, I don't know if it came out, so don't, crucify me, but Corona stopped a lot of movies, so I don't.
It's on our list, so we'll see it at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Freaking lootly. But anyway, he plays a basketball coach who is really kind of focused on getting a winning team. He was a girls basketball coach. He comes to college basketball, and
if you're given a shot to go from high school to Division I college sports, you take that all day, every day. If you're a coach.
I wouldn't know, but yeah, I would assume. And he did. He went and lived in a dorm in this movie with his family, which just seems horrible. But yeah, he's a very likable guy. There's no...
No, he's just a good, sees talent, not the person for their skin color, so he just doesn't care. He's just all about winning.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so Derek Luke plays Bobby Joe Hill.
Second Derek Luke movie, actually.
Yes.
Friday Night Lights, sports movie. Interesting. Friday Night Lights came out before this movie, and this was supposed to be his second, and it was supposed to be a big, well-done movie, and no one ever saw it.
That's kind of sad, actually. But yeah, so he plays almost the same player that he plays in Friday Night Lights, really. He plays the really talented, but super cocky, so his cockiness gets in the way of his talent, athlete.
Yeah. In this one, he makes it to the end without blowing out his knee.
He does, but it's still the same concept. Super talented. He has a big ego, though, and that ego really gets in his way. And that's, in both movies, his character. I don't really know him beyond those movies. I don't think he's really well known. So
and he was in one of the Captain America movies, I believe.
Okay.
With Marvel.
Now, there's not a lot of characters that I really want to talk about here. I don't know if there's a lot that you want to talk about.
Well, we have to talk about the next one on the IMDb.
Okay, Austin Nichols. He plays Jerry Armstrong.
Jerry Armstrong. He plays the kind of guy that just was almost racist because he didn't know any better.
Okay.
At the start of the movie. I wanted to talk about him because he's my connection to Lord of the Rings.
Ugh, we're still doing this?
Yes, I will quit when you quit. Austin Nichols was in Day After Tomorrow with Ian Holm, who played Bilbo Baggins.
Just off me. Please end it slowly or end it quickly. Just end it.
You could end it at any time by stopping the Gilmore Girls.
Maybe I'm stopping it now. Maybe I don't have a reference.
Oh, I don't buy that for a second.
We
just haven't gotten to that person.
We don't know. But anyways, yes, Austin Nichols. Now, is he the one that says he's like talking to them, and they're all in a group, and he's like, "Can I ask, do you like to be called colored or African American?" Is that him?
He's the one that doesn't know any better. He's never seen a black person in his life, and he is from a farm in the Midwest and knows it.
Yeah, and he has that adorable line at the end where he's like, "All right, guys, be bad," and you're just like, "Oh, my heartstrings." Yeah. He doesn't know what he's saying, but he's trying to be a bro, and I love every second of it.
Yes, that's the character.
Okay, so I actually really like him. I did want to mention Jon Voight just because he plays Adolf Rupp, and we're going to be talking about him a lot later in the podcast because I think I learned some things about him that you don't know.
Probably. About Adolf Rupp, not Jon Voight.
Right. Now, I don't actually know Jon Voight. Do you know him as an actor?
I do. He's in a lot of things. He's a very accomplished actor. I believe he's in The Manchurian Candidate.
So we've done that movie.
He's in Holes. He's in Tomb Raider.
Anaconda, Deliverance, Orphan House.
A lot of things.
Fantastic Beasts.
Yes, he's a very accomplished actor. You're going to hate me, but second Lord of the Rings reference.
Wait, I only do one. What's going on here?
Jon Voight was a National Treasure with Sean Bean, who played Boromir. Boom.
Why are we doing two?
Because I can.
So we're just showing off now?
I found two. Yeah.
So you want me to do two next time? Because I will.
No, I will. I found two, and I can't not mention the second one.
Anyway, so Jon Voight plays the opposing coach in the championship game. Throughout the movie, he's kind of making jabs at Don Haskins, kind of just being like, because he's like the reigning champ. He's supposed to win. They're expected to win.
He was coach of the century on the thing, and he's the old established normal order of things.
Right. So he is supposed to be the villain, I guess we can say, but
yeah, in this movie, he's not portrayed in the good light at all.
No.
He's made to look kind of like a racist.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, but that's how it looks.
Right. Anyways, so since I have to do a Gilmore Girls reference because you did that to me, Red West plays Ross Moore in this movie, and he was in an episode in 1987 of The Twilight Zone, and The Twilight Zone connects to Gilmore Girls because Logan gave Rory a rocket replica of the Twilight Zone rocket. There you go. You're welcome.
That's flimsy.
It's actually a really big deal in Gilmore Girls because she spends a very long amount of time trying to figure out where the rocket's from before she figures out it's a replica of the Twilight Zone rocket. So, anyway, I didn't know I was supposed to have two. I would have spent more time, but somebody's a show-off.
Yeah. One last person that we have to talk about, just because I like this reference, is Shin Kerr, who played David Ladden.
Okay, I do like David Ladden.
Dave Ladden. He's actually, in real life, he's 6'8".
Dang.
So he's taller,
the actor or
the actor.
Okay.
So he's taller than David Ladden, and played at Loyola, and then professionally in Italy and other countries.
At Loyola.
Yeah.
Huh. Funny you should mention that because Loyola, a year before this, actually played 4 black players. Before this whole thing happened, where the first team to play 5 black players starting.
Yeah.
So just funny.
We played at Loyola.
I'm glad we just do these little roundabouts.
Well, you're lucky I mentioned it.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's get into this movie. Yeah.
Certainly.
So it's a true story.
It is a true story.
Well, it's inspired by a true story because it's a Disney movie, so they of course take their liberties, just like any other sports Disney movie.
I would imagine it's closer than the true story or inspired by a true story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where there's a person that was murdered with a chainsaw in Texas, and that's how it's connected.
But is that a fair comparison? That's not Disney.
Those are the type of inspired by a true story that you hate. That just it's not even close. This one is at least reasonably close. There are numerous accounts of players for Don Haskins saying that his practices were notoriously brutal and difficult. So I've watched a bunch of real people interviews about this movie as it relates to Don Haskins, and they were like, yeah, it was awful. And everyone that has played any kind of sport has had that one coach that just is a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. And not to be a bad person, but that is totally the person that I am when I coach football.
So I don't think that's fair to say it that way. He's not a jerk for being a jerk. He's being a jerk because he's doing tough love.
Well, right. So, I mean, the best part of coaching is if someone gives you a smart aleck comment, you just say, start running. And just...
Your version of doing this is not tough love. Your version of doing this is to be vindictive and mean because you can. That is different.
That's not No, it's teaching values of knowing when to open your mouth, because then group punishment is a hell of a thing.
So you never had that coach then?
I did. Oh, yeah.
You didn't learn the value of when to open your mouth.
I did. Because...
You just chose to ignore it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, yeah. I love everything about Don Haskins' coaching style. He's my coaching idol.
And he started off coaching women, so maybe, he was shaped by that.
I mean, he said you're playing like a bunch of girls, which today would get you murdered, so...
Or maybe it was a compliment. People just didn't realize it back then.
Wow, you just throw me right under the bus.
I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, so we want to talk about Adolf Rupp.
Okay, Adolf Rupp.
So
literally Hitler. Like, that's the worst name. And thankfully he was born before the 1940s. Otherwise, his parents are the worst people in the history of the world.
Anyways, are you done?
A little bit.
So what was your opinion of him in the movie?
So I didn't do a whole lot of background on it, and the movie really doesn't paint him in any favorable light. So there are a lot of comments that he makes that can be taken as he's a bit of a racist.
But how did you feel about him? I'm not.
I didn't like him at all.
Okay.
As a coach or person, like, he didn't inspire confidence. He didn't. It's almost like he just expects you to do what you do because you can't let him down, which is awful.
Okay. So anyway, there was a large controversy after this movie came out because Wildcat fans and other Rupp supporters said that the film portrayed him as a racist with lines such as Bobby Joe Hills that Rupp would not have recruited him. Like other teams in the Southeastern Conference, Kentucky was indeed all white, but they were the first and for about a decade the only SEC team to regularly play inter-conference opponents with black players starting in the 1950s, and in fact took the place of Alabama and Mississippi State in the NCAA tournament after their respective state legislator and or university leadership refused the invitations because of the possibility of playing against integrated squads. In 1964, he recruited Wes Unsled and Butch Beard along with 8 other black players who received formal scholarship offers before Tom Paine in 1969 became UK's first black player. He did, however, tell these players about the racial difficulties they could expect playing in the SEC.
Well, yeah, the South.
So he was before all of this happened, recruiting black players and giving them formal scholarships before all of this.
Well, I mean, that's entirely fair to be critical of this because that is not explained at all in this movie. And at the end of the movie, in fact, they kind of try to color hit the other way and say that he finally did have a black player on the team after this is all over, like 10 years later, which if he's asking and they say no, that's not something that he can control.
Right. But, I mean, if you watch the movie, you saw that he did have a black player on his team.
Yes.
In the movie. And, I mean, all of his pep talks and stuff were not racially charged.
No, they were not. It just, at other points in the movie, outside of that last game, he said some questionable things, which were probably creative license.
Oh, I'm sure.
On Disney, because they need a villain. Because Disney always needs a villain.
Well, yeah. Also, I did want to mention that because we're talking about what's real and what's fake. So this movie really centers on the racial problems that the university players dealt with.
Yes.
Obviously, that has to be true. I'm sure that they did face backlash.
I'm sure that they got beat up or had stuff thrown at them or...
Right. But in the game between East Texas State, now known as Texas A&M, and Texas Western... East Texas is shown throwing popcorn and drinks and yelling racial epithets. In a later scene, they're also shown putting racial slurs on the hotel walls. But this actually never happened. And because this never happened, a bill was actually written up and approved, well, not approved, but backed by Rick Perry to essentially allow financial assistance from the state to be withheld for films that portray the state negatively. Now, I don't know if it actually went through. I couldn't find that anywhere.
Well, that's getting dangerously close to infringing on free speech. You can't withhold money or government censure just because you don't like what they say.
Yeah, but then when does it come into play of hurting someone's reputation? I know you can sue if somebody wrongfully hurts your reputation.
Slander or libel.
And that's basically what this is. It's saying that they were doing hate crimes essentially, when they weren't. And I'm sure that it probably hurt the school itself.
I mean, I suppose that's fair, but that's on the school to take to court Disney for the portrayal in the movie. It's not up to the government, state or federal, to say you can or cannot say this or that.
Well, so they did ask directly to Disney for an apology, and Disney would not directly apologize and rather explain that the movie was not a documentary and that it had been necessary to consolidate events given the time limitations of the film, and said that they were sorry for a misunderstanding, but they did not intentionally misrepresent.
I mean, how many people know that Eastern Texas is Texas A&M other than us now saying it? So who really knows anymore? Like, who cares?
I mean, I'm sure people in Texas do, right? Like, so I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't like it if the Patriots were portrayed in a negative light, even though they were previously known as something else. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't feel...
Well, Patriots are always portrayed in a negative light in local media, so that's not entirely
I was just going with whatever I could think of that you would relate to.
So, moving on. So, it is loosely adapted. I mean, there's significant differences, but it's not...
Yes, and then, of course, there's also that they skipped a game. It's not super important, but they did skip a game. So anyway, not super important. So, since we're in quarantine, we do know that Corona has canceled literal all sports right now. I mean, I'm a baseball person, and opening day has not happened, and it should have. Like,
you were addicted to baseball.
I was until somebody wouldn't buy me sports package. So
wow, you're gonna keep throwing dirt on my grave. Really?
Yeah. So if Twitter wants to do a hashtag of get Shea baseball, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Anyway, so my point being, you were doing a service to our podcast.
I picked a sports movie because guys need to watch sports. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Everyone needs to watch sports, but they're gone. And this is a great sports movie.
Yeah, so there are other sports movie substitutes. This one happens to be available for streaming on Disney+. There are other sports movie substitutes, like...
Friday Night Lights, Remember the Titans, Any Given Sunday, Rudy, The Replacements... Longest Yard, the original or the remake.
Okay, are we going to do this forever? My question to you was going to be, how does this one compare to the other sports movies that you enjoy? Because you're like a sports movie fanatic.
I mean, I really do enjoy this movie. It's got a very heartwarming message because it's Disney. And the good guys win. It's a happy ending. So certain sports movies don't have the happy ending. Friday Night Lights, looking at you, crushing me. So yeah, I really enjoy this one. It's one that I can watch over and over again because it's got a positive message that you can overcome anything that is set in your path if you keep going and try hard.
Yes. So Twitter, I know y'all haven't seen this, so take some time this week and sit down and watch a heartwarming Disney movie on Disney Plus because we said so. And I can't even fathom, like, the movies that you guys have seen sometimes shock me, and the movies you haven't seen, it's just like, what? Yeah, no, I hadn't seen this movie, but in fairness, I wasn't a big sports movie person prior to you.
Right.
Not that I don't enjoy them now. I love heartwarming things. It's just not something I gravitated towards. But the movie lovers of Twitter, just none of them.
This is a lacking category that needs to be in everyone's arsenal. These are some seriously great movies that you're missing out. Miracle is another great one. I think it's Disney actually as well. Mighty Ducks is not really, it's kind of a sports movie.
No, I mean, I've seen that movie, obviously.
But okay, yeah.
So we're going to have you doing this all day. But since we're, getting a little bit ahead of time here, I did want to ask you about the one part of the movie that I think men would relate to more than women.
Which part?
So, the mother in the movie.
Oh, what's he going to do? He's already running us ragged?
Yes, that part of the movie. So that, to me, I will say from a female perspective, is not something I would be able to relate to. I never really had that fear of God of my mother or any of that type of stuff, and it wasn't ever like, oh, I'm going to call your mom. Like, that wasn't a threat to me. It was kind of like, cool, that.
I can totally see my mother walking down the hallway and doing that.
And would it have had the same impact on you?
Well, if your mother's sitting in class behind you, there's no acting out. There's no doing anything other than paying attention because you'll hear nothing but you weren't paying attention in class, blah, 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 blah. It's going to make your life miserable.
So it's a nuisance factor for you.
Well, it's that, and it's just also she controls your freedom when you're a child. Like, can I go to my friend's house? No. Can I eat pizza for dinner? No.
See, maybe that's the difference then. I, as a child, didn't want to do anything, and my parents wanted me to do all the things, and they would punish me by doing what? I mean, you can't go to your friend's house. Thank the Lord. You can't have this for dinner. Okay, then I won't eat. Like, there was never a punishment that really worked for me, so fear of God really didn't happen.
I can 100% see my mother doing that, and just the absolute social mortification of having your mother in your class would have been awful.
Now, I don't know if that part was true, but it was probably one of my favorite parts because it was just so funny, and it was just kind of like one of those, like, yup, definitely understand what he's going through there. But anyway, so other than that, I mean, this movie is really straightforward. It's a very cute movie, very happy movie, but there's not a lot of...
I mean, there's a lot of heavy topics. I mean, Disney goes hard on the racism in this movie. They just lean into that one.
Yeah,
hard.
They do. And that's a hard thing to talk about because there's a lot of horrible things that happened in our past, in our history, all of that. But at the same time, I want to believe that we're going in the right direction, but I still don't see it. And it's so heartbreaking and it's so real right now, given the current state of everything, that it's so hard to talk about it in a way to be like, well, that's our past. And
well, right now we're basically in a relapse section of our history, which is embarrassing and shameful, and we should just try for sobriety and not being racist. I think we can all agree racism is bad. No one should be racist. And if you are racist, please just jump off a bridge.
And it also doesn't make sense. I mean, it's fair to say that everybody has their own talents, whether you're black, white, Asian, male, female, gay,
green,
straight,
purple, blue, doesn't matter. Like,
none of it matters. So everybody has their own talent. So if you happen to find a group of people that are black or Asian or females or whatever, name your minority here, and they are better at what you're trying to do than the people you normally go with, then go with people that are better. That's how you win. Like, who cares? Why does it matter? Winning is winning. That's how I feel. I don't really care. I'm only going to judge you for being an asshole.
Well, that's how all professional sports are these days. Is they'll excuse basically anything as long as you're a talented player in that sport. I mean, you have...
Not anything. We've got Antonio Brown. Let's be that. He is the very, very talented.
Antonio Brown. I mean, Aaron Hernandez had to kill several people before he stopped playing football.
Again, very talented football player.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you will overlook a lot of things in professional sports that you don't normally overlook.
And I'm sure if we wanted to, and I don't recommend you do, because there are still current playing athletes who have done horrible things that have been overlooked, wrongfully so.
Tyreek Hill, looking at you.
I said don't, and here we are. But my point is that things do get overlooked, and that is wrong, and that should not happen. But what should be overlooked is what you look like. Whether it's your skin color, whether it's like deformities, whether it's your gender, whatever it may be, as long as you are able to play at the caliber of everybody else, then everything else should be ignored, in my opinion.
Well, sports is the great equalizer. You can play or you can't. Like, you can either hit the ball or you can't hit the ball.
Right. But we're not there yet as a society, and that's terrible, considering this movie was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, great.
We haven't really gone a whole lot farther in the right direction.
And this movie was about the 60s, 1964, so that's like even, I mean...
It's shameful how...
2064, do we think we'll be there? 2064? That's 100 years.
That's optimistic.
Well... I'm going to keep dreaming because I'm hoping that when I die, my kids are going to be in a world where we're there.
I want to be there yesterday. I want to be there 20, 50, 100 years ago.
Well, but we've started walking backwards. So, Anyway, so we've gotten that out of our system, yeah? I think you have a history minute.
Tyler's History Minute.
I have a few history minutes. So at one point, one of the boosters says, what are we going to be, the damn Tuskegee Institute?
I don't know if that was those words mean.
So he's making a commentary about the Tuskegee Airmen specifically, which is a group of fighter pilots during World War II that were the first African American fighter pilots, and it was back then the U.S. Armed Forces were separated, and.
Did you literally just define segregation to me?
So
Thank you for mansplaining.
They had so much adversity in their path. They had to have a separate training facility. They had to have separate airplanes. They had to have separate commanding office. Like, everything was broken apart. And they are among the most accomplished fighter pilots in World War II. They were tasked with guiding American bombers and Allied bombers to bomb the hell out of Germany. And they had a total loss of aircraft over all of their missions of 27.
Wow.
Where the average was 46. So they almost halved the number of other men that died. And there was a rumor that persisted until quite recently, until the records were unsealed for not being top secret anymore, where they'd never lost a single bomber. They were that well respected.
Wow.
And they were called the Red Tails, or the Red-Tailed Angels, because they painted the back of their planes red.
So that was actually a compliment to be calling them that, rather than an insult. Although
Red-Tailed Angels was a compliment.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, when the announcer said it, he meant it as an insult, but it was actually a compliment based on what you're saying.
Yes. It's a very highly regarded part of
Like, you're not going to go on a basketball field and they're going to be like, what are you, the next Larry Bird? And you're going to be like, ugh. Like, that's not going to happen.
No, if anything, thank you very much, because Larry Bird worked his ass off and practiced harder than anyone. It's the Don Haskins approach to being good at something.
Right, that's my point.
Keep going until you're good at it.
Yeah.
The next one, basketball, was created where? Do you know?
I mean, it feels American, but I don't have any idea.
Specifically, Springfield, Massachusetts.
Wow, we're bringing it back. I like when we bring everything to Massachusetts.
1891. And back in the original games, they used fruit baskets, and you weren't allowed to dribble. So you had to catch it and pass it, or shoot it.
And they used fruit baskets, like, on the ground?
No, they were on the upper level, like, nailed into the walkway in the gym. It was designed or invented because they needed something to do during the winter when you can't go outside to play sports.
Like right now when we can't go outside to do anything.
Yeah, it's like quarantine, yeah.
Yeah. So
so
basically we should be playing basketball right now is what you're saying.
And then lastly, the three-point shot was not featured in this movie, which is period correct.
And he's saying that because they made a shot that should have been a three-point shot, and I was like, that's 3 points, right? And he's like, actually, no, that was not invented then.
Well, they didn't have the three-point line on the court because they wanted it to be accurate. The three-point shot was invented in 1945, so well before this movie, but it was not an official rule or part of the game until, for the NBA, it was 1979, which was considerably after, and then the NCAA, 1980. It was first incorporated.
Oh, wow. That's not that long ago, really.
Not long ago at all. So before that, everything was 2 points.
Oh, well, that sucks. That means that the games must have been much lower scoring.
Yes. You'll see consistently 50, 60-point games from that point, and then nowadays it's...
like 90 to 100 or even higher. Yeah.
So with the 3 points and with the rule changes and the being able to walk with the ball, basically, instead of having to dribble now...
And I think dunks are allowed again, which after this whole game, actually dunks were
banned for a while. Yes. Yeah. So that's what I got for the History Minute.
Now, I know it wasn't part of your History Minute, but I also know you did look this up. Did you want to mention Pat Riley since he was on the opposing team?
So Pat Riley was on the opposing team in this movie, and I didn't realize it was that Pat Riley until I looked it up. Mm-hmm. And he is now the president of the Miami Heat. And he's been instrumental in the NBA for a number of years.
See? Look at that. The more you know.
And then Neville Shedd was drafted by the Celtics.
Yes, he was. And he was, unfortunately, his career was cut short due to a knee injury. Yeah. Which, wasn't a knee injury Boobie Miles's?
Yes, but it was a different player that played Neville Shedd.
Well, right. But Neville Shedd and Don Haskins had cameos in the movie.
They did?
They did. I don't know what Neville Shedd's cameo was, but I do know Don Haskins was a gas station attendant.
I don't know the Novo Sheds either. I did see that he was a cameo, but I didn't see where it was.
No. So.
Yeah, so that's all I got for the History Minute.
Well, at least you did something. Very proud of you.
Careening across for a 10-minute segment.
Well, yeah, we expected this of you, and it wasn't a bad one. So I'm proud of you. Anyway, so audience asks.
Audience asks.
Y'all let me down, okay? Y'all, you had nothing to say, and all you did was crap on us for picking a movie you haven't seen. What I feel is we gave you a movie to watch while you're bored in quarantine, but, no thanks is what we got.
If
no
you're not
thanks.
seeing actual sports, the next best thing is a sports movie. We've already talked about that.
But no one thanked us. No one. So yeah. I'm hurt and I'm upset. So anyway, the only person on Twitter who gave us an audience ask was Rev Johnny Blumpkin, and he said, "Isn't this just a basketball version of Remember the Titans?" And before you respond to that, I do want to say that I had to get our other audience ask question from Rotten Tomatoes reviews, and that was all over the reviews. Like, literally everyone said
that was basketball, Remember the Titans?
Yes.
And less good?
Yes. So what, do you think that's true?
I mean, it's very similar. It's very racially charged for this entire movie. And
as the time period was.
It's historically accurate, because there was Jim Crow South. It was not a good time, historically. It's a national embarrassment for everyone involved.
It was decidedly not a good time. But I mean, I don't think this movie was just that. I mean, Remember the Titans, first of all, was not a happy ending.
Well, no. I mean, it was a happy ending. They won the national championship, or the state championship, although one of them almost died in a car accident.
Yeah, well, I mean, that to me is not happy, but sure.
And it's at the whole movie starts and ends at a funeral for Remember the Titans. This one has a happy ending. Although, yeah, it's racially charged. In the real story, they were not given a ladder to cut down the nets as the typical winning team's right to cut the nets from the baskets when they win. And they weren't given a ladder, so they had to hoist one of the players up on their shoulders to do it.
Wow.
Which is just really uncomfortable. And they were also not allowed on the Ed Sullivan Show after they won, which is also another thing that usually happened.
But so you're not really saying anything about what the person said?
I mean, it is similar, but it's... real life is similar. If real stories happen to line up, if they're based in similar time periods, like, that's just how it works.
Right. I mean, I think what people don't think about when it's a true story is that, yes, there is creative license there, but also you're trying to stick true to what actually happened in real events. A lot of people's lives did mirror each other. Yeah. So,
well, that and the stories about overcoming adversity are all going to be similar if it's the same time period. Like, that's just that was what was going on.
Right.
And that's the thing that was taking the focus.
Right. So
yeah.
So yes and no. And I do think that Remember the Titans took a few more creative licenses, or at least a few more that we were able to find.
Yes.
So there's that. Anyways, so the one from Rotten Tomatoes, the review said, solid sports movie, but with no likable characters. So I wanted to ask you if you thought there were likable characters, and if you did, who were they? I
mean, how do you not like Willie Cager?
Now, is he the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy?
Yes, the person with the heart condition that just loves the game of basketball. How do you not root for that kid? I mean, Don Haskin, likable guy. Like, he's trying to build a team because he cares about winning. And
well, so I guess for me, who wasn't likable other than obviously Adolf Rupp? They made him the villain, but like of the team, who wasn't really likable?
I mean, Bobby Joe Hill wasn't particularly likable because of
his ego.
Yeah, but
he had a character arc.
He did have a character arc, and he was very committed to his girlfriend, which like helped him as a person. He got better as he went. He had a character arc. So, I mean, I would argue that this movie had huge amounts of likable characters. Everyone was basically likable except for the opposing teams, really.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find anybody particularly unlikable. I mean, obviously, who I was supposed to find unlikable based on whatever, but I mean, I rooted for all of them, really. I mean, Cager was probably my favorite, I would think. But there was nobody I was really, like, rooting against. I can't think of, like, anybody on the team that I was like, ugh, I just want to get rid of him. I mean, I know you're saying Bobby Joe Hill, But I rooted against him more in, was it Friday Night Lights that he was in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I hated him in that movie. I was like, get your knee blown out. I don't care. Bye.
Don't ever root for injuries, which happens in all of those movies, which is terrible. I know.
Boy Meets World taught us that today, okay? Yes, we're rewatching Boy Meets World. No, I don't want your judgment. And yes, it taught us that today. I get it. Power of the mind and all of this. But I did say it even before. I was like, I hope he gets an injury and he's out. Like, I literally said it during the movie. So, in this movie, though, I was just kind of like, yeah, he's annoying, but that was it. There was no, like, hatred coming from me. So, I don't know if I agree with this person.
I wholly disagree that almost all of the characters are likable, except for the villain and some of the racists, or all of the racists, but...
Yeah, but those aren't characters in the movie.
They're not characters that you're supposed to like. So, you're wrong.
Right.
Whoever you are, mystery internet person, you're... not right. You're wrong, and probably wrong in everything you've ever said. Because
so what we should do is we should take a screenshot of his review and then make his review go viral negatively. I feel like that's the only real repercussion, or not repercussion, like...
consequence for your stupid review.
Yeah, basically. So if you want us to do that, I'm down for that. So anyway, that's about that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else before we hit reviews?
I don't think so, really.
Okay, so go on to your review there.
Reviews.
So Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is 55%. So I think that's a lot of people comparing this to Remember the Titans and other things that they happen to like more. I mean... it's a very simple story, so there's not a whole lot of great cinematography. There's not a whole lot of complex things other than the racism.
Which we don't really need any of that.
So, 55%. Audience score of 81. So what that tells me is that it's a positive, uplifting message that you can overcome adversity. And people really like that. Mm-hmm. So the average person watching this is going to enjoy the movie, is what that tells me. And I'm in that category. I got to give it an 8.5. Because, I mean, I love sports movies. I'm a sucker for a compelling sports movie. I'll watch all of them all of the time. And it's a great positive message, true story. And, yeah, thoroughly like seeing racists lose at everything.
Yeah. So I was going to give it an 8. I obviously love true stories. I love motivational stories. I love all that. I mean, it obviously didn't pass any Bechdel test because there's, like, the only woman in this movie is Zooey Deschanel's sister, Bones. I can't even think of her name off the top of my head.
Emily Deschanel?
I think so. So she's, like, the only female in the movie, and...
the girlfriend. But that's it.
The girlfriend?
Bobby Joe Hill's girlfriend. Will Smith's little sister.
You see my face? That's how much of an impact she had as a character.
Yeah.
So, but that, I mean, I always kind of like to see a little bit more female representation. You can't tell me there was no female involved in this movie at all. You cannot tell me in the true story.
It's a men's basketball team.
I don't need a love story. I just want a female character to exist that matters. I guess the mother, but even that, she was a very stereotyped character. You know, just like the funny character mother.
Let him play.
Yeah, I mean...
so there's a couple, but it's not really that story. It's more...
I know, but it's always... it's just nice to have one character stand on her own, but fine. I'm happy they didn't put a fake love story to put a fake love story. I would have hated that more, so I'll say that. The other thing that obviously always bothers me in these types of movies is when it's not accurate. And I don't like that they portrayed Adolf Rupp as a racist when you then research him and you find out that he was not, in fact, a racist. I don't know. That kind of stuff always kind of bugs me. Like, take your liberties, but don't ruin a person's character.
Yeah,
you know?
Don't assassinate someone that can't defend themselves. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah. Know your power. Know how you can shape something and be careful of that. It's like
Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, they're both coaches in the end of this movie are in the college basketball Hall of Fame. So, like...
right. So, anyway, I still enjoyed the movie a lot, but I can't give it a full score when those things bug me. So, that's it for this movie.
Yeah.
Are you ready for next week's movie?
What's next week's movie?
So this is actually a movie neither one of us have seen because this past movie you saw. So we do usually do movies one of us has seen, but this one is I Love You, Philip Morris. I think we found it like going down a rabbit hole at one point looking through movies. I don't know what rabbit hole we were in.
It's probably Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey.
It could have been. But so yes, it's a Jim Carrey movie. So our second Jim Carrey movie. And you want to give a little bit of what it's about? Not a whole brief synopsis.
So when I heard her tell me this, I thought instantly of cigarettes, which is not what this movie is about. So it's about a...
Don't give a whole synopsis, just...
gay con man's life story?
Yeah. So we haven't seen it yet. We don't know if it's going to be good or bad. It's obviously not well known, so I also expect you guys to fail me horribly on Audience Ask. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to fail me, watch it this weekend before we've seen it.
Watch the damn movie. What else are you going to do at the house? Yeah,
just do it. And then give us an Audience Ask question because, guys, this is hard when you don't. It's hard. It's really hard. But anyway, that's it. If you guys want to talk to us outside of the podcast, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at CinematicallyC. Tyler is Blame Tyler CC. We will be having his punishment uploaded to TikTok, which I will share on Twitter so you can find it so you don't have to go follow us on TikTok. That's annoying. But it'll be a TikTok dance, so that'll be hilarious. So you definitely want to make sure you're following my Twitter at CinematicallyC because I'm sure he's not going to share it onto his.
No.
So you can find that. I am sure people are going to be looking forward to it. I'm excited. I wish we were doing more of these things, but we don't have any plans to. But yeah, email us, cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. Our website has not been updated. Thank you, Tyler.
Whoa. You're the one that updates the website.
Where's my timestamps? Huh?
I can get those in 5 minutes.
Yeah, but did you get them? Did you? No. Okay. So anyways, we will be back next week with I Love You, Philip Morris. Thank you to Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening.